your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Come on along, especially since you're already here. Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Of course, on this Friday, it's July 24th, a big day, a big show. Alec Lasley is going to join us, of course. We'll talk some IU recruiting, basketball side, and how about former Indiana basketball coach Tom Crean joining us as well today, so looking forward to that. Lots to get to and lots to talk about. Indiana gets a major commitment from – well, I wouldn't say major. They get a really good commitment from a three-star DB out of Georgia yesterday. So that's another nice get for Tom Allen, continuing to get solid players from places against, I forget who all had offered this kid, but he had some decent offers. So that's another good get for Tom Allen and crew. Mike Tyson's going to be back in the ring to take on Roy Jones Jr. in an exhibition match September 12th. Roy Jones Jr. is 51. Tyson is 54. I don't care because he would kill. I wouldn't get in the ring with him, but a couple of 50-year-olds getting in the ring.
But what's an exhibition match in boxing? I mean, does that mean it's?
I think it does not have to be sanctioned, maybe.
So, but they're going to be boxing like.
Oh, they're going to be boxing.
They're trying to win. It's not like a preseason NFL game.
I think exhibition just simply means it's non-sanctioned, which means the Nevada Athletic
no
Association.
belt,
there's no title. It's all about pride.
Well, it's all about the entertainment because, I mean, who isn't going to want – I'll watch that. I'm not even a gigantic boxing fan, but I'll watch that.
I wouldn't get in the ring with Mike Tyson at his age.
Heck no.
I don't care that he's 53. I've seen him. I've watched videos.
I wouldn't get in the ring with you.
I'm telling you,
who wants to go get in the ring and get smashed in the face a bunch of times?
But especially with a guy that you know is more than capable of doing the job still. Yeah. I don't care that he's 54. I've watched him on videos. I see what he can do still. It's crazy.
I've seen some 54-year-olds that I would much rather get in the ring with than him.
But it ought to be entertaining. I mean, if nothing less, what Mike Tyson fight was not entertaining.
Well, yeah, they were very entertaining. Just some of them didn't last very long. I remember we got all hyped up in college for a big fight we were going to watch it over at Pat Knight's house, and it lasted 21 seconds. It was miserable.
The best one I watched when I was in school at IU was the big upset. Buster Douglas. I remember that because it was on. I think it was on my birthday even. But where we lived right across from the stadium, right across from that convenience store that's on the corner there, and one of the guys in the apartment next door says, "If Tyson loses, I'll walk to Dave's naked." Blah, blah, blah. Boy, when he went down, you would have seen about 8 people jump up out of our apartment running through the door to his, banging on that door. Whoa, let's go. And he stripped down to his underwear. That was as close as he got. But it was pretty funny. Good old days. Yeah. Some other things I saw, some news. Harry Kreider named to the Werfel list of IU football. It's a service for community awards, so it's a very, very important. Nice to continue to see IU football players on these lists. It's just being recognized, and it shows that the outside is recognizing what's going on in Bloomington, so that's a good thing as well. Some news down in Lexington, Kentucky. Some black faculty members, all of the black faculty members, I believe, have come together and asked that UK rename Rupp Arena, saying that the Rupp name has become known to be stand for racism and exclusion. And that would be a pretty big slap in the face for the Kentucky Wildcat fans, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. That just seems like a monumental task. But I'll also say I don't know enough of the details about the Rupp name and the family name and whatever goes associated with it to give a real educated opinion on whether I think that's valid or not. But if what these people are saying is true, it certainly seems like something you would want to change.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of that. The IU president has put a directive out that every building, every name is going through a review. Who are these people? What have they done? Which it's a smart thing to do. Of course, it makes you wonder, well, why didn't y'all do that before? But why didn't anybody do anything before? So now we're forced to. But yeah, they're going through, and one of the bigger names, Jordan. The name Jordan here at on the Indiana campus, a big name. Probably going to be getting removed from some stuff, but it's good that they're doing that and going through that. But that would be monumental. I mean, Rupp Arena, that's known throughout sports, man. That's kind of a part of their legacy.
It's such a fine line between, honoring your history and, where the line becomes that it offended somebody. And I don't know. It's just there's a lot of those things. Like what does the name Rupp Arena, like in today's world, is that really offending someone? I mean, if it really is, and someone's losing sleep over it, and it's affecting their life, then maybe it needs to be changed. But just to change it just because somebody doesn't like it, that's idiotic.
Well, why wasn't it brought up before now? I don't recall hearing it before. So
yeah, agree. That's why I'm saying I don't know enough about it,
and I promise you
how offensive it is.
And I promise you, I am no fan of Kentucky. So
we could care less.
So yeah, it's we'll see how that goes. The Seattle Kraken, the new soccer team up in Seattle. That's their name is going to be the Kraken. I had to look up what the hell's a Kraken. It's a It's a sea monster. It makes sense. The Seattle Kraken.
So they got the Seahawks and the Sea Monsters?
Sea Monster. Yeah, well, they're going to be called the Kraken, though, not Sea Monsters. But it is a sea monster. So there you go. There's that.
Is that like a fictitious thing? No,
it's not
really sea monsters, right?
No, it's like a real big cephalopod or something. It's a type of sea. I think it's real.
Okay.
It's a real deal.
I'm going to go with it.
The Senate name, image, likeness hearing addresses issues. They had yielded a few answers, of course. The Senate getting involved in this is like the biggest joke. It's like, to me, it's no different than the NCAA doing it. It's like two clown cars pulling up and both just emptying clowns out one after another. That's the NCAA and the Senate trying to handle college athletics to me. It's a joke. They neither one of them, the Senate doesn't have a first clue as to what the hell they're doing with it. They all just jumped in. What? Oh, can I get attention? Yes, students, give them money. They have no idea why. They just said, oh, yes, because it's great attention getter. They think it's going to get them votes. I think the Senate and the government getting involved in this is going to screw this up. I'm very afraid I'm not afraid. I want players to get what they're due, but at the same time, there's a line. If you go too far, I think you screwed the sports up forever. And start paying these guys, if it ends up being big money, is going to screw the thing up. There's no way it can't. I don't think. You invite money, you invite problems.
But when I think a part of this is the NCAA has just been very poor in being able to make decisions on their own, make the right decisions on their own. So I think it's another. I don't even hate to. I mean, I hate to say it's a governing body because the Senate doesn't really govern over the NCAA. There isn't a governing body over the NCAA. So I don't really understand how. The NCAA is a membership. Like you have to gain membership to be an NCAA member. So the Senate doesn't really have any authority over them. I don't understand why that's a big deal.
Well, they can create laws, though.
Sure, I get that, but I mean
that, and I think the NCAA has been granted. I forget the word I'm looking for, but they're allowed to do business with little repercussions, kind of monopolistic style. They have
they're immune. They have immunity.
Yes, which is not good.
Sure.
Always.
Yeah, but going back to what you said a minute ago, I mean, once you involve money in this, it's going to be different. I don't want to say it's going to screw it up because I do believe that these players should be able to benefit off of their name, image, likeness in some way. And now, it's going to be unfair. I don't think there's any way to regulate it. That's what makes it very difficult, in my opinion, to make this change and to make it happen. But I think it's probably the right thing to do. I just think I don't know how you regulate it at that point. You're going to have some players making $1 million a year in college.
Yeah, the official name of the Senate Judiciary Committee's hearing on this, it was called Protecting the Integrity of College Athletics. That makes me laugh just listening to the name of it.
But I get it. Like, I get what they're trying to do. Like, because if they don't, I think what we talked about before, there's some jeopardy involved in the NCAA and college athletics going away.
Well, Lindsey Graham, a South Carolina Republican of all people, he spoke for a long time. He made it clear in his opening statements. How long did he go? It went like 2 hours. Dude talked for 2 hours. But the one thing he said, the one thing I'm dead set on is we can't start a bidding war for recruits. We cannot allow this to turn into a bidding war in the Wild West when it comes to recruiting college athletes and how you reimburse them for their name, their likeness, and their image. I see the destruction of college athletics as we know it unless we get a rein on it. Dude, wow.
That's exactly correct.
There's somebody who just said the real stuff right there. And this dude of all people, Lindsey Graham, wow. Well, that's it.
But what, and you're right. Like everything in that statement, I think we would all probably agree with. The only problem is it doesn't come out and tell you, okay, so this is my suggestion as to what they can do to regulate it. And that's where there's just going to be such a gray area.
Yes, it is. It's such a, because it's like NASCAR in a way. NASCAR, those cars, they have rules for how these cars have to be set up. And you always hear about, oh, this car didn't pass inspection.
Right.
Well, they tinker and they change. They try to find any little place where the rule is not clear and you can kind of tweak it.
Sure.
And that's what is going to be done here. You've got to have it laid out exactly, or somebody is going to always be trying to tweak, or what can they squeeze out of this particular rule?
And again, social media is going to make that very difficult, because you take there are a lot of people who are bloggers or whatever you want to call it, and they make a lot of money off of doing that. That's their living. And so you can take an average college kid, and if he's got a blog and he can make off of it, there is nothing illegal or wrong with him doing that. And so if you take an athlete and you put them in that same situation, if they can make money off of their blog or however they might get paid on that, how can you regulate that and tell them that they're not allowed to do that? And so, for example, I think it was talked about before, if Zion Williamson had been able to collect money off of his social media influences alone, he could have made over $400,000 a year as a college student, but he just wasn't allowed to because he was an athlete.
And he was probably already making more than that from Nike.
But he could have. But even if he was making more than that, that's in addition to what he could have been. Yeah. He could have been getting paid that for it. So how can it be okay for a regular student, but not okay for an athlete?
Yeah, it's a weird thing. It
really
awful.
Is. It's a terrible situation.
But it's only weird because there's going to be people who try to take advantage of it,
sure.
And we know
the money's never going to be enough. You're going to have the Zion Williamsons, and I'm just using his name as an example.
Exactly.
I'm not saying he's this kind of person.
He's a good example.
He's going to be on a team, and he's going to say, I deserve more money than the ninth best player on our team.
He may not even have to say it. If they've got the right backing, they're like, oh, this is the guy. We got to make this guy a nice, big, fat offer.
Sure.
I mean, it's going to turn into contract offers, no different than pro teams.
Absolutely.
That's my biggest fear is schools having things set in place. Hey, man, you come with us. We've got this package here for you. All you do is sign right there, man. We got Adidas. There's $100,000 from them. Hey, here's a car dealer we got set up for you. You got a car to drive. I mean, it could be all kind. They can have a package set up, ready to go upon signing. Unless I missed something here and what they have got to set it. But, man, I just don't know how they're going to deal with that. But we'll certainly see. Hey, we got a big show today. Did I mention that I mentioned Alec Lasley's going to be on with us? Did I mention Coach Tom Crean's going to be on?
You did, yeah.
Oh, well.
Excited.
He'll be up next, so we're looking forward to that. Stay tuned. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. Coy O'Leary coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Friday. It's exciting. Looking forward to it. We're back with more right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Coyle and Leary here on this Friday. It's July 24th. For those of you listening on podcast, I know Tom Crean will be with us now. That's for the radio listeners. We have to go back and edit that in. So he's not with us right now. He'll be with us in a little while for you guys. So, but just keep listening. Alec Lasley's going to be with us in our next segment, and then Tom Crean will be with us, just so you know. So, but moving forward, what were we talking about? Talk about the name, image, likeness stuff and all that. And, when
we were beating a dead horse on that subject.
Yeah, which it is. But
yep.
I kind of feel sorry for the NCAA in only regard to
said
this.
No one ever.
Said no one ever, exactly, and said no one cares. But because their hands are really, it's like, man, they're gonna have to work hard to hit a home run on this, to not screw this up, because this is a difficult thing, the name, image, likeness thing. But they're in this situation because they got drug into it, because they went screaming, dragging. They refused to do anything before that. Well, now you're screwed. Now you screwed yourself, and now you've got this mess you got to deal with because Mark Emmert you kept your head in the sand, and it didn't work. And as always, and now. But
it's even way before him. I mean, this goes back. The NCAA has held on to that amateurism,
Well, we all bought into it. Bought into it.
Sure. And it's one of those deals you would hope an organization of that size would have someone either working there or consulting with them that would get them to understand, hey, look, you guys got to look into the future here a little bit and see the way things are going. And money is going to dictate a lot of stuff, unfortunately. I mean, and they welcome it when it dictates, bigger revenues for them when it comes to TV contracts and stuff like that. But one thing they never did was tweak the system itself. And they've tried to hang on to that amateurism title, which let's face it, that's part of the reason why we love college athletics. I mean, the amateurism is part of the reason why we love it. But they had to have seen this coming, not 5 years ago or 10 years ago, but 40 or 50 years ago. When they started negotiating TV contracts, they had to understand sometime down the road this was going to become an issue, and they've held on to it too long. And quite frankly, I feel like the problem might be too big, and it may come back and bite them.
I have no doubts it's going to bite them, because I sit here and look at this and I'm like, okay, tell me how in the world they're going to be able to stop schools from having a deal set up. You sit the recruit down and you slide this in front of him. Here's the big proposal. You just slide it across the table. Here's Hobson Automotive. They're going to provide you a car while you're here at IU. Here's Yogi's card. You can go to Yogi's, eat whatever you want, have whatever you want, buy whatever merchandise you want. Here's an Adidas card. You've got such and such money a month you can spend on that. This is all part of your deal when you sign at IU. How are they going to stop them from putting that deal together?
I don't think that they are going to stop that. What I think they have to figure out a way to do is to regulate it and say, this is what's allowed. And truly, like think about it, Jim, if they want to stop an organization like the G League from coming in and plucking out, right now they're going to pluck out the top 6, 8, or 10 best players. Don't think that's going to stop there. Eventually they're going to pluck out the top 200 players if they want to. And so you're going to have to allow schools to provide a car to a kid. You're going to have to let them provide, whatever that kid could possibly get from the G League. I'm not saying you need to give him that equivalent, but you need to be able to compete with that to where the kid has to make a decision as to whether I want to go enjoy a college experience and still versus, I either go eat ramen noodles every night and I enjoy my college experience, or I can go live in an awesome 5-star hotel in Los Angeles and play for this G League team and make $500,000.
Yeah, but the thing
is, drive a Range Rover.
There's only so many of those. There's not that many. There's not enough to field an entire team. I mean, you can put 5 people, but
now.
And I don't know if it's ever going to get to where you've got 20 guys that are that good that they can go off, because we're going to have the abolition of the one and done rule. That's going to go away. So they'll be able to go straight to the NBA if they want. And the kids that are good enough, they're going to go. Why the hell will they stay for a college contract when they can get a pro one?
Right. But think about it this way, Jim. The NFL it's an awesome organization and entity. Most people love watching the NFL. And there's still a guy out there with enough money that wanted to start the XFL and wanted to start something to rival it. And I could see it's not happening right now. And I'm only going to use his name because he has a lot of money, but he's kind of a cutting edge thinking person. But you take a guy like Mark Cuban and you get him, if the NCAA doesn't do something that's really a big change, you get a guy like Mark Cuban to come in and say, hey, look, I'll start my own college league and I'll pay these players X number of dollars, and it won't just be the top 20 players. It'll be the top 500 players. And you won't go to Indiana University. You'll go to, the Seahawks or whatever, the Sea Monsters or whatever it's going to be. And they'll start that league. And you don't most of these kids, now understand, most of these kids are not going to school for their education. They're going to school to play basketball or to play football. And so it's a job to them. And so you're going to have someone that's going to have enough money that's going to be on the forefront of this and try to start their own league if the NCAA doesn't make some major adjustments.
I get exactly what you're saying. The only thing I would say to that is the fan support. College athletics has fan support because it's built in. They're supporting their school and then whoever that team happens to be at the school. Those teams, they're not going to have fan support. They're not going to have – people are not going to flock to watch that on TV because they're not invested in it. Whereas fans of Indiana or fans of Illinois or fans of Michigan, they're invested in it automatically. It doesn't even matter who's on the team because it's their team. So there's
because
one
that's
difference.
Where they went to school. I totally agree with you. I don't disagree with that at all. But I don't know that would be enough. I mean, if the TV money is there, if a Mark Cuban could go get a TV deal and the money was there, and you put a good enough product out there, you could get the fan support. It wouldn't take very long before you got that fan support.
Well, better yet, why don't they just put together a Mark Cuban IU package? We talked about this before. We can have the flying Cubans. They're hurrying Cubans.
But there are, that's what I'm saying is we don't want to get involved in a bidding war in this thing. And just what that guy who you read his comment, just what he said, we can't get into a recruiting bidding war, because then you're never going to be able to get it back under control. And we don't want it to turn. Yes. I mean, we have Mark Cuban as an alumni of Indiana University who supports the university big time. We have the Simons, like that is Simon Scott's, I should say. I mean, those are huge dollars you could throw behind it, but we don't want to get into that.
How about the Cooks?
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to get into that recruiting war. We love it because it's college players that are playing hard and all of that. Like, I don't want the money to take it over, but I do believe there has to be money involved in it for these players. Otherwise, someone's going to start a league and they're going to pluck all the players away from it.
And they
money
want
controls
to,
it, Jim. You said that more than I do.
Absolutely. But when you involve the money, they're not going to just be offering this money to any player that comes along. They're going to be offering this to the best. And I think that's in essence going to turn it in. Recruiting's already a bidding war. Let's forget the money. It doesn't matter. It's a bidding war. You're bidding for the services of these kids to come play for your university, and you're touting what you got and what you can promote. So it's kind of already there. Now you're implementing money into it, and it just becomes a full-fledged bidding war. And I just don't think there's no way to stop it from getting there. I mean, Mississippi State is not going to have the same resources, I wouldn't think, as an IU when it comes to basketball. I mean, we've already mentioned some names, Cuban and Cook and all those guys. And not the Mississippi State, and I'm just using them as an example.
You're just pulling one out of the air. I got it.
They're not a basketball school where Indiana is. There's no way they should be able to have the same kind of offering, but I guess maybe they can. And so is that going to make a difference on college athletics? Are people going to go there? Well, they actually gave me this and offered me this, and I like that. So,
but and that's why I'm saying if you regulate it to where the number is a good number, like I'm saying, you're going to have to. I honestly believe they're going to have to provide players cars. They're going to have to provide them with, a stipend and things like that, because these guys can go get that through the G League deal. And I know the G League deal right now is only the top 10 players or whatever it is, but it will expand if it needs to, if the NCAA doesn't do something about it.
I don't think that they'll do that, though, because they know that would be they know that the college basketball is their feeder system, and they don't want to screw it up too bad. I mean, they want what they can get, no doubt, but I don't think they want to screw it up either. They know that it's been a really good partner, and fans watching these guys in the NCAA tournament catapults them into following them, watching them on the NBA the next year, and I think they like that. I know they don't want to screw that up too bad, but there's a fine line. They want to get theirs. Everybody's got to get theirs.
And somebody's going to have a big enough ego with a big enough pocketbook to want to start their own deal. And I'm not saying it'll work, but somebody is going to push that envelope, I believe, at some point in time.
I nominate Vince McMahon.
Yeah, would it shock you?
Hey, it would be fun. It would be, it'd be funny. He'd have ring girls coming out.
Yeah, we'd be entertainment. There'd be entertainment value.
Maybe walk around with a big sign, second quarter, like ring girls. But it's always been a mess. It's never going to not be a mess. Hell, look, they don't even have that problem now, and look at the problems they have. They got FBI investigations going on, all kinds of stuff.
You said it before. And we've constantly talked about this, and it's not even picking on the NCAA. It is the fact that they've never changed their rules and adapted with times. Times are different, even than when I played 30 years ago versus what they were. And the rules they've got in place now have been there for 75 years. So they've not adapted with the times and money. That's what is surprising to me. And that's where I feel like they're hypocrites, because look at the TV deals they're signing now. I mean, there was no ESPN back in the 1960s. And now, back in the 1980s, ESPN came around. In 1990s, it blew up, and now it's the biggest thing ever. And when you look at those deals that they're signing, I mean, those are astronomical figure numbers. And they never let that trickle down. That always stops at the top with the NCAA and that organization. And that's where I think they missed the boat on not evolving their rules and regulations.
I agree. It's just
money controls it. We all know that. Like, that's a fact.
Just a mess. We'll see. We'll see how that works out.
Bring your broom, because it's a mess. I don't have a good Marty Huggins voice. But,
it took me 2 seconds to think of that, Marty. I'm like, oh my gosh, that and oh brother, we're out there. We're going to sweep this state clean. But Marty Huggins,
Huggins.
Oh my gosh, I never thought I'd get a Marty Huggins reference on this show. And if you don't know who Marty Huggins is, you're not treating.
Look it up, because I can't imitate it.
Oh my, Marty Huggins, we gonna sweep this state clean.
Bring your broom, because it's a mess.
Speaking of mess, we are, but man, we got a great show lined up today, as always. Alec Lasley is going to join us next here. We're going to talk about some Indiana basketball recruiting. Not a lot going on. Some new names from the 2022 class. I guess we'll mention the football commitment yesterday. That was a pretty big deal for them too. And then after that, former coach Tom Crean is going to join us as well. Stay tuned. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. Coy and Leary coming to you here on this Friday from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, and we're back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Friday. We have reached the end of the week. You know what that means. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com is joining us to talk about some recruiting, Indiana basketball and football with some news there, Alec. But I guess one was Jordan Longino's decision. Not a shocker. We kind of thought that he was going to be staying back east, and that's exactly what happened with him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was kind of the general consensus, mainly for the majority of his recruitment. It was just kind of tough, though. Obviously, the last couple of months here, really nothing from that front on him. His recruitment just basically kind of laid low underneath the radar for the most part. So no one really kind of got that great of a feel for it, but everyone still kind of figured, after that Villanova offer that he was going to stay home and stay there, which obviously he did.
I mean, I think everybody knows there is a specific core that Archie Miller and crew are after. And I mean, we know that that's Trey Kaufman. We know that it's Mason Miller. I think there's one more that I'm missing right now. But
Muhammad and
yes.
One would be Blake Wesley. Yeah.
Yes. Those guys, those are the four. If they could land those, it would be a recruiting dream for Archie Miller. And we know that that's the ones. Now, the likelihood of getting all four of those guys are probably not good, but you swing for the fences. It's a possibility. But if they do, man, that's going to change the fortunes of Indiana for the near future.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, all those guys are almost, near impact players right when they step on campus too. So even if they land, two of them, which I think they have a good chance of landing two of them, I don't think three is really kind of in the cards with that group and what they're going to have returning next year as well. But I think, Trey Kaufman, if they do end up landing Aminu Mohammed, I think those two are kind of that core that'll really elevate the roster that Indiana already will have next year up to a team that could potentially obviously make that run to a Final Four.
Yeah, if I had to guess one guy, it would probably be Blake Wesley. Getting him out of South Bend is probably going to be difficult in and of itself. And a lot of guards on this team right now, a lot of guards that they just signed, a lot of shooting guards. And so it's kind of crowded position on top of that.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the one thing that Blake Wesley's really kind of worked on in the high school year and then so far in AAU is really being a lot more ball dominant. And I think if you're going to have Christian Lander, obviously, next year and some of these other guards and even other wings that do end up needing the ball a little bit more in their hands, I don't know how great of a fit it really is. Obviously, he can shoot, better than a lot of people on that team already. So being a spot-up shooter is definitely, something that he could do. But I think he's really trying to work himself into be more of that ball-dominant player.
Yeah, I got a text in the show from Tim. And so it looks like that Archie's going to be banking this extra scholarship for the 2020 season right now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that was kind of the goal. Just with everything going on, with all the question marks around, maybe who could visit, what the season was going to look like, how things were going to really develop. It just really didn't look like anyone was going to kind of pop up on that radar. And obviously to this point, no one has, and it doesn't look like that's really going to be in the cards.
So as we look next year, how many scholarship availabilities will that leave them with?
So right now, obviously with Logan Duncombe right there, they would have 3 more. So they had 4 total. Obviously Christian Lander moved up, and then Logan is that one commit right now.
So then we've talked about the names, Mason Miller and the guys that we've mentioned fill right in there. They've got scholarship openings for those guys. So that if you hear anybody else popping in, somebody's going to get eliminated.
Isn't that also assuming that Trace Jackson Davis is still there?
Yeah, exactly. So there's still a lot of kind of question marks around what the roster is going to look like, if he's going to be there or gone. I think he will end up leaving. I just don't foresee him staying 3 years, just with how his freshman year went and kind of what the expectations are for him next year. So I do end up thinking that he leaves after his sophomore season. So that obviously opens up another one as well.
Do you think Trace Jackson Davis, like this is my opinion, I think Trace Jackson Davis could have a better sophomore season with lower numbers. I think he could actually even look better as a player and not average as many points. I think he even need to average as many or more rebounds. But point-wise, I think he could end up having a lot higher stock in the NBA, even not increasing his points per game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think obviously the one thing with him is being able to at least step out in the mid range
and make a 15-footer.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. That's going to be the one thing that I think everyone knows he needs to work on. Everyone knows that he needs to obviously showcase that in order to kind of take that next step with his game. So everyone will be watching. I'm sure that will develop. But the one other thing that kind of may go against what you were saying there is obviously, Trayce Jackson-Davis wasn't taking that many shots last year. And we saw obviously him really disappear in a lot of those kind of second halves. And I think that's going to be one, major point of emphasis, not only for this entire team, but, for those guards to really feed him the ball. And whether or not he does end up, taking those shots, or it does end up drawing that extra double team that leads to something else, obviously that's to be seen. But I think he's obviously going to be the vocal point of that offense, and he needs to be.
Yeah, because don't forget, whether you like him or not, Justin Smith is not there to draw some of that attention away from him. And that's one thing he did do, at least, was draw some of the attention down in the post.
Well, they for sure had to keep track of Justin Smith to block him out, because he was so athletic on the offensive glass that they couldn't leave him, because if he went he would go get the rebound. But I do think that there's a bigger impact. Last year when Indiana ran the offense through Trayce Jackson-Davis, so made sure that he got the ball for him to shoot the ball, I did not think their offense was very good. The awesome part is he was a great passer. And I think they're going to run the offense through him, just like you said. I think the focal point's going to be to get him the ball, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be to shoot it. It's going to be to draw that double team and to make good passes. And he scored the majority of his points off of junk baskets, I'll call it, like rebounds or putbacks, or somebody driving to the lane and dishing it to him, and he scored off of that. He did not. His percentage of scoring when they actually ran the play for him was not very high.
Yeah, and I think one thing they'll just help with that is, and it's kind of obviously still a question mark, is how many minutes is he play. Because if you take him, off the floor with Trayce Jackson-Davis, and you put, Race Thompson, or even if, Jerome Hunter can develop into, that consistent shooter that we saw down the stretch last year, that just opens up the offense and the lane just for him to be able to work a little bit more. And I think having more space down there on the block, obviously is going to be beneficial for him to be able to make some moves as well.
And we'll see what I was going to say. Plus, bringing all that back, I think, believe this or not, I'm not going to be surprised if Trayce Jackson-Davis comes back for a third season. I say that only because I think that he has that kind of mentality. I think that he's going to be playing with a lot of guys that he's been playing with for a long time. If you go back through the feeder system, the AAU system, and I think that he wants to be a part of bringing something back to Indiana. I would not be at all surprised to see Trayce Jackson play a third season and have all those guys there at the same time. Something Indiana hasn't seen for a long, long time.
Well, yeah, and in my opinion, it would be, and right now I think we would all just be guessing at that, obviously, because we don't even know what kind of year he is going to have. But if he does have that opportunity to leave, he's going to have to make a decision. Let's just say Indiana gets two of those recruits, like you said, Alec, and possibly the third one. If they've got that kind of talent coming in, and with what they will have, and I think these freshmen that are coming in this year with Christian Lander and the other three, I think all of those guys combined, Indiana would be a top 5 team without – I don't think there'd be any question they'd be a top 5 team, possibly the number 1 team in the country. And that's where it could really influence the decision of him coming back for a third year. But I think we won't know, because we're rooting for him to have a great year this year. But if he does have a great year, he could also get drafted in the top 5. And if that's the case, there's no way he's coming back.
Yeah, I think obviously the bigger question around all this is what's going to actually happen with the season.
Right.
So,
No, Alec. We only talk as if we're having a full normal season, Alec. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, obviously that's going to play a lot into it. And I think, you're going to see a lot of guys making more business decisions rather than kind of what they want to do in terms of, joy
True.
and excitement, and obviously, maintaining that college eligibility. But, hopefully we do have that full season. But, I think that's going to be a bigger question than anything else or any other player that comes to IU.
Yeah, my glass is not half full. My glass is full, Alex. So I'm looking at it. We're going to have a complete season, Maui, everything.
Wouldn't that be great?
Now, and speaking of Maui, I keep bringing this up. I am shocked that there's been no word from them. Nothing. I mean, not even a suggestion. Hey, here's what we're looking at the possibility. Are they still looking at the possibility of keeping it there? They should tell people that if that's the case. But if they are pretty sure they're going to cancel it, I think they should be telling people that too, because we're not that far away and there's just so many logistical things that have to be dealt with. Are they going to move it on the mainland? Where are you going to move it? Where would you move one from Hawaii all the way to Florida? I doubt that. But there's nothing. We've heard nothing from them.
Well, they did come out, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and said that they're still moving forward as planned.
Which
but
says nothing.
Yeah, but they're obviously, they do have some backup plans. They haven't come out with those yet. I mean, I don't think obviously fans are going to be there, especially in that small of an arena itself. But I think as of now, just at least maintaining that probability of at least going there. If all the players are obviously, testing negative and everything is continuing to go as according to plan, then, I don't see the issue with it.
One of the things, you've got to factor in, remember, these are student athletes. So being a part of classes still has to be factored into this. But I really do think a tournament like Maui, given the time frame of how long the actual tournament itself takes place, could really look at the model of what the TBT did in quarantining guys and bringing them in, 3 or 4 or 5 days ahead of time. We're bringing full teams in. I don't want to say guys, bringing full teams in. They have their own hotel, they're quarantined or wherever they do, and they can really control what they can go see and what they can do, where they can go. And I do see that as being a possibility. I don't know that they'll really want to get to that point of the cost of doing all that, but I could see them using that model.
And just one thing, a lot of these, and IU did it too, where a lot of these colleges are now going to remote learning from Thanksgiving to February or February or March. So, if they're not going to have to be back, in-person classes, after Thanksgiving, then they will have, a little bit more wiggle room to kind of play with. And if they do have to, quarantine the 14 days or anything like that, it won't be, as big of an issue in missing classes or anything like that.
So where do we go next? I mean, it's like a waiting period, especially, let's see, that's in November?
Late November, yeah.
We're not that far away. And like I said, it's just I guess the fan aspect of it, that's probably out the window. So if you're a fan and you got plans, you might as well start making alternate plans on that. But
hey, there's nothing wrong with going to Maui and just sitting in your hotel and watching the games from there.
Sit on the beach. Sit on the beach.
That either.
Sit on the beach. Take a TV out there and sit on the beach. Yeah, I mean, you could certainly do that. I mean, it's not like they're not going to be allowed on the island. So there's still a reason to go. And how many people actually get in to see the games? Since it only holds it's like a Georgetown High School.
3,500.
Does it hold that many?
Yeah. It's like 3,500. It's not much.
So the games themselves, they're not even the draw, really. I think it's just the people being in Hawaii.
The TV money is the difference maker. I mean, it's whether they can logistically get the full teams to travel there, which most of the teams that go. I shouldn't say that, because I don't think everyone would fly chartered plane all the way to Maui. I mean, a lot of those teams still fly commercial when they go there. Just monetarily, it makes sense.
I agree. Alec, what else is new and going on? Any new names that are kind of popping up? I know there's been a little bit of we've both been out seeing some basketball on the weekends. Todd's been out. I've been out. You've been out. Anything popping up? Todd, have you seen anybody that we haven't talked about? You're like, hey, how about this kid? Where's he come from?
I mean, no, that's what I talked about a couple of weeks ago, in that, we're not getting to see like the tournaments that have been here in Westfield. There'll be 2 or 3 teams from Ohio, a team from Michigan, maybe 2 or 3 teams from Illinois, where it used to be there would be 25 teams from Ohio, 25 teams from Michigan, 25 teams from Illinois, Kentucky. Like you would find you'd be able to see players that are just what you're talking about. They'd pop up and you'd be like, whoa, where's that guy been? Like an OG Anunoby situation where a guy is playing with somebody else and all of a sudden he just has a breakout season. We're not seeing that, or at least I have not, because we're not seeing – I've seen all the local guys. I mean, I've seen Braden Smith play, 5 times, and which I love watching him play. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm not seeing a whole lot of new names.
Yeah, Braden Smith is a name that pops up a lot, Alec.
It should.
Yeah, he's really good. I really like his game. I definitely think he's a high major point guard. Not maybe, a starter or a 4-year starter or anything like that, but he's one of these guys that if you have him as a backup point guard for 4 years and he plays, those 15, 16 minutes a game that you need out of a backup point guard, I think that anyone who would get that would get a steal in my mind. If he was 2 inches taller, we'd be talking about him in a whole different sentence.
If he was 2 inches taller, he would have an offer from 8 Big Ten schools already, and 5 other big time programs.
Yeah. How many sophomore point guards?
Which to me is ridiculous.
Yeah,
which to me is ridiculous because you just watch the whole TBT get dominated by a guy that's 5'6".
Yeah, and I mean he Braden Smith he averaged like 19, 5 and 5 last year as a sophomore point guard. Like, I mean. Obviously, competition level, depending on where you're playing in any state, is obviously going to be different in terms of your stats. But those are still great stats for any kind of point guard.
Consistency is a big equalizer. When you do something consistently, that says a lot to me. And whose offers does he have right now?
IUPUI and Indiana Wesleyan,
which is amazing. I'm telling you, I don't have any reason to advocate for Braden Smith other than I've watched him play. And if you like basketball, if you like watching good basketball and a kid play hard and make good decisions and is a really good he's Damon Bailey that's 3 or 4 inches shorter.
Why is it so hard? Why is it so hard for these coaches to do this? When we look back, we look at Yogi Ferrell. We look at guys. We could come up with a myriad of examples of guys that, we didn't think he was doing, but golly, look what he's doing. Yogi Ferrell's in the stinking NBA right now.
Yeah, and I think this summer is, we talk about, some of these other players and stuff like that. But I think this summer is definitely one where, coaches not being able to get out and see him more and even him playing against different competition in higher competition and basically playing against the same kind of group of teams every weekend here. I think that's something that's really hurt him because I feel like if this was a normal summer, those offers would slowly start to kind of pile up. Maybe not at the high major level that we're used to seeing with some of these other guys, but I think you'd be able to see, 1 or 2 of these guys or these programs throw out an offer for him. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens with the rest of his recruitment, but I really like him a lot.
We'll certainly see. Why is it, Todd, do you think that after we've seen myriads of examples that if a kid can play, a kid can play. I don't care if he's 5'10" or 6'2", but I know the difference that it makes that you like to have. But somebody like Archie Miller, how tall is Archie? 5'9" at best. He played at that level. He knows what it's like to have to struggle and how much harder he probably worked because of that. I don't understand why you can't look at what this kid's already producing and knowing. Can you imagine giving that kid an opportunity like that? I would think he would work even twice as hard.
And I say it to you all the time in that, and I'm a victim of it. I understand and agree. Like I agree with what you're saying more than you agree with what you're saying. but I'll also say, look at us as fans. And when we talk about a shooting guard coming to no matter who it is.
How tall is he?
One of the first questions I ask
how tall is he?
Well, how big is he? Because if he's 5'9" versus 6'7", it makes a big difference to me. If he's 6'1" versus 6'7", for some reason in my mind, it makes a big difference. And in this case, like I'm gonna say, like Braden Smith is an anomaly in some regards when it comes to this, because this kid can play at any level, no matter what his height is. And I firmly believe that. And the hard part is I'm not a Division I coach. The hard part is to get the Division I coaches to believe that. But I don't think anyone would, I'll tell you this, wherever he ends up going, and it'll be Division I, wherever he ends up going, after his 4 years of being there, that coach is going to have loved the fact that he recruited him.
And he's going to look like a genius.
Exactly.
I agree with you totally.
And he'll look like the smart guy.
He's a coach's son too. I mean, my gosh, the guy he's got everything going for him. His passing is probably one of the best parts of his game that nobody talks about.
I think that's the best part about his game.
I agree with you.
Different sport. Mitchell Page, who's a good friend of ours on here all the time, football player, of course, but receiver, but like 5'7" or 8. He would say that when he was in his coach's office and the coach had called him in for some college coaches, he said he could see them as they would walk by and see them in the office, look at him and see him and just keep going once they saw his size. Didn't even talk to him. He said nothing pissed him off more in this world and drove him to be the great player that he ended up becoming. I mean, the guy ended up he was on an NFL roster at one time, but a superstar in Europe. But trust me, the fact that they still do this is amazing to me, and I think he'll get an opportunity somewhere, Alec. But I cannot thank you enough, brother. As always, excellent job. Make sure you give him a follow on Twitter at Al Lasley, and follow him at thehoosier.com, where he provides nothing but incredible coverage of Indiana and the Big Ten. Alec, thanks, sir.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
I hope you have a great weekend as well. Hey, that's going to wrap up the regular show today. For more, stay tuned for the bonus portion. Stay with us. But Indiana Sports Beat, Coyle O'Leary. For Todd and Jimmy, I'm Jim Coyle. Stay with us if you're staying on the extra. Tom Crean joining us. Until then, I will see you on the radio.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make it tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
This is James Whiteman Jr., former Indiana Hoosier. Make sure you're keeping up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Yes, I am, yes, I am, yes, I am. I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man.
Welcome back on this Friday, July 24th. Thanks a lot. Jim Coyle here. Todd Leary as always. Now joined by one of our favorite guests that we've been able to have, Coach Tom Crean, former Hoosier coach, current coach at Georgia. Coach, how are you, sir?
I'm good. We're right in the finishing up our morning lift and conditioning out here. So I'm out by a hill. So if I get distracted over the next minute or so, you'll understand. So
Absolutely. Appreciate you taking the time to join us. What a unique summer, weird summer we've had. So how have you been able to try to spend your time getting through this situation?
Oh, I think positive attitude. I think the quicker you get over thinking about yourself and how it's affecting you, and more importantly, how you can help your family or your team or people that you come in contact with. That's the most important thing, because everybody's going through something hard, and the bottom line is trying to help them the best that you can, and then not waste time when it comes to making yourself better by studying different things or learning different ways or bringing it across to your coaches and team. But I think the biggest thing is you can't get self-centered on how it's affecting you. You've got to really focus on how it's affecting everybody else and what you can do to provide support.
And one of the things, you think of Tom Crean, you think of a guy who goes out and is able to find some great talent out there. I think of OG and those kind of guys who you found by just going out and working to find them. Well, those opportunities aren't there now. How many of those guys are going to get missed out on this season because of not the recruiting changes?
I don't know if they will. I think obviously there's very few tournaments and that there's limits there. But I think if you're doing your job and you're on it and you're really looking and paying attention, I think you can find people. I think I would be surprised if the signing period didn't change at some point, so it might even provide more time. But it's like, is the glass half full or is it half empty? And the people that complain and worry about not being able to recruit, that's not even close to the people that are worried about not being seen. So there's got to be different ways for them to be found uniquely through their high school film or through workout film. And it's just become very much a live stream summer and online summer, things of that nature. And you just have to be diligent in your approach. And the most important thing you do is you just keep looking for what you value as a coach, not what someone else values for you or not who someone else thinks should be able to play for you, but what you value as a coach. And I think the more things change with the grad transfers and the potential of the one-time transfer rule, which will go in effect next year, all those type of things, you've got to even more so stay true to the values that you want inside of a program, because there's going to be more and more change all the time for roster change, right? So how do you find people that are compatible to one another and that have the ability to, hopefully connect with one another, in life and as teammates and on the court.
Yeah, and talk about change. Earlier, we were talking about the name, image, likeness as that continues to go on. There are so many things now that a college coach has to deal with that has nothing to do with college basketball. The name, image, likeness stuff. We've had COVID all summer to deal with. It has got to be one of the most difficult times to be a coach.
Maybe, but I think the coaches that, worry about the noise or worry about the distractions, they get away from what's most important. And your job is to make people better, right? Make your coaches better, make your players better. And I think the more time you spend, now you got to try to navigate it. Don't get me wrong. You got to try to learn. You got to try to navigate. You got to try to be ahead of the curve, I guess, when it comes to how it's going to affect you. But you've got to stay true to those. All become distractions if you let it, rather than how are we going to make this work? How are we going to be prepared for it? And most importantly, try to provide an atmosphere that according to the rules, okay, if it's name, image, and likeness, how does that best serve the players on your team? If it's a newcomer coming in, that's had a COVID summer and we're in our first week of full team training, and we'd be finishing today. our 8-week session. I mean, that's how different it is right now. So you just have to deal with the distractions best that you can and not let them become that. So to me, that's what's most important. And it's real easy to complain about the way things are rather than try to do the best you can with the way things are going to be and be prepared for that as that happens.
You're recruiting wise, you're known as a relentless recruiter, and that's kind of something that's been taken away. That face to face, that touch, where coaches are allowed to be with their recruits right this summer has been eliminated. How are you getting around that and making do with that sort of thing?
Well, again, I think you just find different ways with the technology. Whether it's FaceTime has been there, but whether it be the Zoom meetings. To me, it's studying a lot of film. It's really being able to study the film, evaluate the player, try to give him as much help as you can, see how he responds to that help. I think the big thing is, you have to really factor in where people are at in their locations and what they have access to or don't have access to. Like for us, we brought people back in stages because we had some people here or some people in our program, and we signed 4 new players in the spring that I had never met in person outside of a Zoom or a FaceTime until I've actually seen him on campus. In fact, one is still not here because he's finishing summer school, and I still haven't met him in person yet. I've seen him play in person, but I haven't met him in person. And I think what you do is you look at what people have. Like, it's not a normal summer. So we had some kids that were in great situations with their training. And so it didn't do any good for us to bring them in here early, because that would, especially with the restrictions that you have, it's more important that they get better every day. Well, I think it's the same as a recruit. Some people have access to be able to do more. Some don't have access at all. And I think it comes down to how resilient, how resourceful, and how committed are you to doing the best that you can with what you have. If you can't find a gym, if you can't find a court, what are you still doing to get better? And I think those kind of things show themselves through the recruiting process just as much as when you're watching somebody play. What's their commitment level to getting better? What are their values to getting better? And how do they fit what you're trying to do?
Hey, Coach, it's Todd Leary here. I just want to say, like, you have to have an enormous advantage when it comes to this situation. And no one's going to root for COVID, obviously. But just listening to you talk in this phone call or in this interview, the positivity that you put off is electric. And I think that's always been one of your biggest assets. And one of the things, I think you're probably have an advantage in this COVID situation over a lot of other coaches and programs because of how positive you are about everything. But on that line, like, I know you probably don't get to follow it and see it as much because you're in Georgia now, and Athens is a beautiful town, but people in Bloomington still talk about you on Twitter daily, pretty much, about the impact you had in their life in some way in Bloomington. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we take away from the Tom Crean era at Indiana. And it's just such a big involvement that you had in the community. But I want to tell you that my first thought when I knew you were coming on was to ask about Riley, because I know the people in Bloomington, I've been asked numerous times about how was Riley doing, pitching at Georgia. And he was really, a lot of people were excited about having him come to Indiana University. And that was a big loss as well. So I guess I'll ask for everybody else. How's Riley doing down there?
Sure, I appreciate that, Todd. I do. Riley is doing great. He didn't go to Indiana, obviously. He got drafted by the White Sox out of Bloomington North, right. And it was a late round pick situation. So he went to IMG for a year, came to Georgia, played for a year, but really lost his love for baseball at the expense of wanting to be a basketball coach. So it's really not a bad situation. I mean, my wife and I, Joni, we wanted him to play as long as he could, but his heart was really in coaching, so he gave it up last September, and he was a student assistant for us this year, and he's doing a fantastic job. I mean, it's like having a graduate assistant or a young player development guy in your staff that just turned 21. So he's got a really strong mind for it. He's got a tremendous work ethic. He's got the bloodlines, with being around it all this time and with Joni's family. So he's done a great job. Our 3 kids, I'm proud of all of them. They've been very, very resilient and resourceful. My daughter Megan's an IU grad, and she lives in Atlanta and has done a fantastic job using her public relations degree. And my daughter Ainsley is going to be a 9th grader at Athens Academy. And I appreciate what you said, because the bottom line is, it's like the Indiana, being at Indiana, everybody thinks that's hard to be there. That's not hard to be there. You're there with the people, right? The people that made that program, the people that made that the formidable arena and atmosphere that it is. Those are genuine, caring people. There's always going to be pockets of people that have a different idea.
Sure.
The hard part there wasn't coaching Indiana. It's dealing with, certain things in-house that you would deal with. Those are the things that become hard. Working with the people and wanting to see them be successful, wanting to see them be happy. That's what I miss a lot of that about Indiana. There's such great people there that make up the fabric not only of the community and the state, but make up being an Indiana fan. And so that's in a sense. It's that's what you have to have. There's so many people have it hard, and I think it's like with our players right now. What do you want people to know about you, right? Because that's how you help them learn to treat you. What do you want them to know about you? Do you want to be seen as somebody that's moody and self-serving and unmotivated, or do you want to be seen as somebody that's got a lot of energy, cares about other people, wants to be successful, competitive as can be? That's what you want. So, I'm trying to live my life like that every day and surround myself with people that are the same way.
Well, you've left a mark for sure. I've got a text into the show from Ryan, who lives in Whitlake, Michigan, says, can you let Coach Crean know I'm a huge fan from Mount Pleasant, and he knows where he is, I guess. He said, let him know he follows you in Georgia, and his older brother lives in Atlanta. So you got some fans that have followed you down there as well, no doubt.
It's Mount Pleasant. That's my hometown, so that's great to hear. Thank you.
Absolutely. And well, we appreciate you joining us. And talk about your son getting into coaching. We talk about coaching trees. This is a real coaching tree because it starts back with Jack Harbaugh. You got the Harbaughs and now the Creans. What in the world, back in the day when you were first dating Joni, what was that like going into that household?
It was intimidating a little bit to begin with. It really was because, I knew Jack Harbaugh. Speaking of Mount Pleasant, I knew Jack Harbaugh is the coach of Western Michigan when I went to Central Michigan, right? So that's a huge rivalry. That's the Indiana-Purdue rivalry of outside of Michigan State. That's a rivalry back there. So I was always down a little bit, but they eased into it really well. Both times you meet their brothers for the first time. There's going to be, you want to be on your best behavior, but pretty quick it became that they were great guys, and it was a tremendous family, and I think that was really clear early on that they're such a great family. And I've been very fortunate all these years, to be in it 27 years now, so it's been great.
Talk about some skull sessions. I bet those were some good ones to have.
No doubt.
Coach, I said, you talk about some great skull sessions. I can't imagine what those Christmas skull sessions were like.
Yeah, they're tremendous leaders. It's every one of them. And if Joni would have chosen to coach or, do something like that, she'd have been the same way. The mindset of that family is just tremendous. So it's very, very fortunate to be in that.
Well, Coach, we're very, very fortunate that you took the time to join us. We greatly appreciate you because we know you have a lot of things to get to and do, and we really sincerely appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Sure, no problem. Todd, I want to ask before we get up, how are your boys?
Everybody's doing great. I appreciate you asking that. They're doing terrific. Got one of them at IU and have one that's finishing up at Carmel this year, so I appreciate you asking.
Oh, that's great. I still remember seeing them for the first times when they were in the camp, when they would come to the games, the whole thing. I know this. You're one great father. I always knew that back then, and I'm sure that's when I know that.
Well, thank you. That's very nice of you to say.
Coach Crean, you've been tremendous. It's a tremendous honor having you come on. Hopefully we get to do it sometime again in the future. But, man, oh, man, I hope you and your family have a great rest of the summer, and thank you so much.
Thanks. You guys, too, and I appreciate it. And everybody back in Bloomington, we've always appreciated the way those 9 years, it was 1/6 of my life, as a 54-year-old guy, being there 9 years. But it was just tremendous to be around so many great people in that state.
There's a lot more people that appreciate you than maybe you realize. But
for sure. No doubt about that.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you saying that.
Coach Crean joins us here on Indiana Sports Beat on this Friday. Way to wrap up a Friday, man. Super. Well, we already knew he was a super nice guy, but his energy. I mean,
his energy and positivity is electric. I mean, it really is. He's like Bill Mallory. When it comes, every time I ever heard Bill Mallory talk, and the insane part was it's a lot. It's hard to get people motivated time after time after time. And that's just something Coach Green is just awesome at.
Well, it's a lifestyle. When it's a lifestyle, totally. It's not, you don't have to fake something when it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it is definitely a lifestyle. Hey, and I know that there's a lot of people say, he this, that, Bob. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, super good guy. He's still very, very affectionate towards Indiana fans. And I think that I think people see that. I think that's why Mike Davis gets the reception back when he gets.
Sure.
People appreciate them. And I think as years go by, the appreciation will continue. Man, the situation he was put in, who would you wish that on? Jeez.
No one had a chance of being successful in Mike Davis's situation at IU.
Well, we got to get out of here. It's another great Friday show. I can't imagine it being any better. Alec Lasley joining us today to get us updated on IU recruiting, and of course the former coach Tom Crean joining us as well. I hope everybody goes out, has an absolutely wonderful day, wears your mask, and says something nice for somebody. For Todd and Jimmy, I'm Jim Coyle. Until Monday, I will see you on the radio.